Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Vandana Chakravarti, Director, Lifelong Learning and Extension at SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. Today we are going to learn about teaching learning material for adults. All the programs crafted for adult learners require teaching learning material. This is perhaps true of any educational program. A variety of material as per learning objectives are used for these programs. In the present module on teaching learning material for adults, various types of materials for adults are discussed along with their special features and qualities. Let us look at the objectives of this module. After completing the module, the learner will be able to list types of teaching learning materials required for different adult education programs, categorize teaching learning material with regard to learning objectives, describe needs and objectives of basic literacy and continuing education materials, explain qualities of basic literacy and continuing education materials, list agencies and institutions involved in development and production of adult education materials in India. Let us look at adult education programs and types of materials required for this program for various purposes, of course. The adult education programs in existence vary widely in both scope and organization. At one end is basic literacy program, in which the instruction given is limited to the use of primers and ends when minimum levels of learning prescribed for functional literacy are attained. At the next level is basic education program, which is to enable the neoliterates and school dropouts to continue their learning beyond basic literacy and acquire equivalency to formal education system. At a still broader type of continuing education program provides not only extended basic literacy but also follow-up material, that is simple material to be read independently by the students as soon as or even before the basic literacy material is completed. We have skill development programs which provide opportunity to learn, upgrade and use the vocational skills to improve livelihood and living conditions. These are conducted for neoliterates as well as for non-literates. For all these programs, specially prepared teaching learning materials are used. These materials may be categorized based on learning objectives. For motivating the learners, motivational material like songs, posters, videos, radio programs, etc. are used. To ensure participation of learners, participatory materials like games, dialogue, role plays are used. Instructional material includes primers, charts, videos, etc. Now, after completing basic literacy course, neoliterates are provided with follow-up material like booklets, leaflets to enhance their literacy skills. In case of adult education, emphasis is on using such materials which will motivate learners to continue learning, get learners more involved in learning activities and provide more relevant knowledge, information and skills for daily life, sustain and enhance literacy skills. Let us look at basic literacy material now. Basic literacy is a very important stage in learning. It is the entry point of adult education. The aim during this stage is to impart functional literacy to non-literate adults. The aim of functional literacy as conceived is far broader than merely arousing enthusiasm for literacy status and the provision of literacy material limited to primer. Basic literacy consists of two stages, pre-literacy and literacy stage, and for each stage separate material is required. Now, why do we need material for pre-literacy? It has been observed that many non-literate adults are not well prepared to learn reading, writing and numeracy at the time they actually join literacy classes. Therefore, preparatory stage is essential for many adults, during which training can be provided to ensure rapid progress in early efforts to learn. During preparatory stage, emphasis is on oral and visual communication. A variety of material like posters, audio cassettes, films, songs in which value of literacy is demonstrated is used, and such materials have been found very effective, through which it becomes apparent that ability to read and write is an essential aid in solving problem or in securing a coveted satisfactory reward. The role of teachers in the use of these materials is very crucial. Usually, the first 2 or 3 classes are used for the purpose. Teachers use these materials to initiate discussion with students why they want to be literate. Let us look at the material for literacy stage now. Literacy stage begins as soon as learners are prepared to learn with reasonable ease. This is a very important stage in learning. The main objective of literacy stage are to achieve self-reliance in literacy and numeracy, to become aware of social conditions in which learners live and work, to improve their functionality. A variety of material is used during literacy stage. Depending on availability of budget, a set of instructional materials at this stage may include the primer, teacher's guide, charts and posters, supplementary material, teaching aids, blackboard and chalk, exercise books, and of course pencil and pen. Primer is the main teaching learning material of this package. It is the main tool used to impart literacy. Primers are greatly preferred where teachers get little or no training. Untrained teachers are usually unable to provide effective sequence of literacy activities without a well-prepared primer. Primers are developed based on prescribed curriculum and prescribed levels in the 3 R's to be achieved. Different types of primers are being used by different agencies and communities. There may be separate primers for literacy and numeracy, having separate workbooks for each skill, or integrated and multi-graded primers may also be used. The content of these primers should relate to the immediate need and interest of the learners. In India, primers are developed based on an innovative approach known as improved pace and content of learning, popularly known as IPCL. In IPCL primer, literacy, numeracy and workbook are integrated together in one book. The key aspect of the approach to development of IPCL primers include generation of interest, motivation and confidence amongst the learners as well as teachers. There are primers at 2 levels. The basic literacy primer is used when learners begin to read to break the literacy barriers, largely with the help of teachers. There may be only one basic literacy primer, or it may be divided into a series of smaller books. Bridge primer is used to consolidate and stabilize the newly acquired skills of learners and gradually reduce their dependency on teachers. It also helps in continuation of their learning under the guidance of a teacher till they achieve the literacy norms laid down by the literacy provider. It also provides them an opportunity to apply their acquired literacy skills in their daily lives. Teacher's Guide explains the structure of the primer, the objective and content of each lesson. It also provides guidance how each lesson has to be taught, keeping in view the andragogy and cultural background of adults. It may also describe the profile of adult learners and their psychology. Posters and charts are necessary to create learning environment in the literacy class. Usually, posters showing benefits of literacy are used for the purpose. It provides an opportunity for the learners to get acquainted with the written word. Many teachers like to use literacy charts which introduce letters and numerals through use of pictures. The chief aim of using such charts is to familiarize the student with sound and shape of letters in the language. Teaching aids and supplementary materials are required at the Literacy Center to make learning joyful and useful and confidence building activity. Teaching aids are used for promoting the rapid mastery of new letters, words and numbers and so on, and assess the progress of learners individually as well as in groups in an indirect and creative manner. Most of the time, ready-made teaching aids are not available with the primers. In such cases, teachers prepare their own teaching aids. Some teachers encourage their students to make sets of their own as soon as they make sufficient progress in writing skills. Supplementary materials can make learning activities more informative, more interesting, and relevant to the learners. It includes materials of high interest value and are limited to vocabulary, to the words already learnt in the primer, so that learners could read them independently. Supplementary learning material, when prepared considering local context, can play key role in conveying relevant knowledge and information which the primer often deals with in brief or does not deal at all. Supplementary material help in improving fluent reading, comprehension power and developing reading habit. Now, in addition to the above mentioned materials, films, flip charts, forms, pamphlets, maps, actual objects, locally available material, etc. may also be used if funds are available. Usually, primers, teacher's guide, some posters, blackboard and chalk are supplied to the center. However, some creative and committed teachers prepare their own materials also to their specific needs. And now, vocational skill development material. Usually, not much reading material is available to impart vocational skill development training to neoliterates and to the non-literates. Teachers usually focus on practical aspects and use demonstration method for teaching purpose. Few state resource centers and National Book Trust of India have developed some vocational skill development material in the form of booklets. Some SRCs, that is state resource centers, have prepared special skill linked literacy primers also. These primers main focus is on any one particular skill and life enrichment education. Teachers' manuals and video films are also available for some skills like cutting and tailoring, dress designing, beauty culture, sewing machine repair and so on. Now look at basic education material. Objective of basic education program is to enable the neo-literates to continue their learning beyond basic literacy and acquire equivalency to formal education system. It is for the first time that basic education material has been prepared for adult learners in India under Sakshar Bharat program. Basic education material is developed by National Institute of Open Schooling. Material is prepared after careful and critical study of formal education and open education curricula, keeping in view the literacy skills of neo-literates. Material is available for Hindi language, mathematics, environmental studies, science and social science for 3 levels. First is level A, equivalent to class 1 to 3, level B equal to class 4 and 5, level C equal to class 6 to 8. Examinations are also conducted by the National Institute of Open Schooling for each level of learners. Let us now look at continuing education materials. As a result of literacy programs and primary education expansion, there are many neo-literate people today in India and other developing countries, and many children drop out of school without completing primary education. These school dropouts and people who have acquired literacy through literacy program are considered as neo-literates. The neo-literates and other community members are considered lifelong learners. For such lifelong learners, variety of material is available under the continuing education program. The neo-literates or lifelong learners do not form a homogeneous group in terms of experience and exposure to the world, as some are young and adolescents, some are middle-aged and old. There are women, girls, working groups, and non-working groups, etc., having different needs. Similarly, there are variations in terms of literacy levels also. Therefore, graded material is needed for various levels of neo-literates so that they could move from lower level to upper level of information and knowledge and skills and literacy without taking much help from facilitator or teacher. Gradation includes language difficulty, vocabulary, complexity of content and other aspects of book production like illustration, layout, type size and so on. Continuing education materials serve manifold purposes. Prevent lapse into illiteracy and bring the literacy of neo-literates to the independent learner level. An important objective of continuing education is to improve economic status of learners. They learn new skills, upgrade their existing skills, entrepreneurship, and get information about procedure for getting assistance from banks, government schemes, credit institutions and so on through continuing education materials. Continuing education materials provide messages and information to improve the standard of living and quality of life through better health practices, nutrition, environment conservation, cleanliness, income generation, improvement in civic sense and so on. Continuing education material develops critical thinking and reasoning power in the beneficiaries. It is aimed to nurture them into being mature and rational individuals. The continuing education material try to develop scientific attitude and rational thinking among the readers. The use of this material brings out desirable behavioral changes and develop positive values and attitudes amongst the readers. The entertainment needs of readers are no less important. Therefore, some continuing education material are also only for fun and entertainment. Material used for continuing education are broadly divided into three categories. We have printed book material. It refers to printed and bound material like books, booklets, magazines, photonovella, etc. Booklets for neoliterates are designed to present concepts or ideas through combination of text and visuals. Booklets help in self-education and promote in much positive way understanding and reasoning of the reader. People can use them at their own time and convenience. They can read it repeatedly also. The books may be kept in libraries and can be easily carried to any place. Photonovella is a format of neoliterate materials in which story is told through series of photographs arranged in a sequence as a booklet. Printed non-book materials also are used, and they include all printed materials exclusive of books and booklets like posters, printed newsletters, wall newspapers, leaflets, flip charts, flashcards, charts, pictures, cards, paper strips, etc. Such printed non-book material are suited to effectively presenting a message to a number of persons at the same time in a most appealing manner. Contents of such materials are usually simpler than that of printed book materials. Such materials are effective in motivating neoliterates to make further advancement in their reading abilities. Now, electronic audiovisual materials. A topic or a message can be presented in an impressive manner to a large number of people at a time in entertaining manner. However, for presentation, electricity and some equipment are required. Radio programs, films, TV programs, videos, etc. are examples of electronic media materials. Traditional folk materials may also be quite popular and effective with neoliterates if used properly. In most communities, there are people who are experts in local traditional folk performing arts. Their talent can be utilized for developing local materials like songs, dramas, puppets, plays, street corner plays, shadow plays, folk dances, and so on. Games are also used. As regards to learning objectives, these are participatory materials as it ensures learners' participation in learning process. Games can be divided into two categories: ordinary traditional games and simulation games. Games provide an opportunity for learning almost unconsciously while enjoying playing. However, games represent things in simplified format. Therefore, difficult and controversial themes and issues cannot be dealt with very effectively through games. Usually, after use of electronic, audiovisual and folk material, a discussion session is organized on the theme. A combined use of printed material with audiovisual or traditional folk material is very effective for the learners to gain a deep understanding of the subject as well as develop reading habit. It helps in creating learning environment and aiding effective learning. Later on, learners can use the printed material to recall whatever they have learnt. Which are the agencies and institutions involved in development of production of materials in India? Because a lot of material is actually produced. I am sure you would like to know about these agencies which are involved in development and production of these materials. The main agencies and institutions which are producing these materials are Directorate of Adult Education, Government of India in Delhi. It develops and publishes exemplar material for a learning environment creation, basic literacy, post-literacy, continuing education, etc. at the national level. At the state resource centers develop adult education material, prototype material in national as well as regional languages. National Book Trust of India, NBT, New Delhi, produces neo-literate material in Hindi, Urdu and regional languages. Then we have Central Institute of Indian Languages, Mysore, which undertakes studies and researches. Non-profit agencies like Adult Education Association, Bharat Gyan Vigyan Samiti, Nirantar, they also develop innovative material, continuing education material, newsletters for neo-literates and so on. Academies like Urdu Academy, Haryana and Delhi develop primers and continuing education material. Then we have private publishers, mainly developing CE material. National Institute of Open Schooling develops textbooks and assessment tools for equivalency program. Then we have Department of Continuing and Adult Education and Extension in universities that develop innovative material and undertake studies. Tata Consultancy Services developed ICT material for e-learning. At the end, let us reiterate what we learned from this module. A variety of teaching learning material as per learning objectives are used for various adult education programs. Special care is taken to have such material which can make learning activities more informative, more interesting and relevant to the learners in all stages of literacy. Usually, not much reading material is available to impart vocational skills, vocational skill development, training to neo-literates and to non-literates. Teachers usually focus on practical aspects and use demonstration method of teaching. Only few state resource centers and National Book Trust of India have developed some vocational skill development materials. Basic education program enables the neo-literates to continue their learning beyond basic literacy and acquire equivalency of formal education system. National Institute of Open Schooling has developed basic education for various levels. For continuing education, a variety of graded material is available for neo-literates and lifelong learners so that they could move from lower level to upper level of information, knowledge, skills and literacy without taking much help from facilitators or teachers. Such materials are effective in motivating neo-literates to make further advances in reading abilities. Electronic audiovisual materials like radio programs, films, TV programs, videos, etc. are also used for continuing education. Traditional folk materials like songs, dramas, puppet plays, street corner plays, shadow play, folk dance, etc. are quite popular and effective with neo-literates if used properly. Games are participatory materials as it ensures learner participation in learning process and provide an opportunity for learning almost unconsciously. But games represent things in simplified form. Therefore, it becomes difficult to deal controversial themes and issues effectively. Adult education materials are developed by different agencies like State Resource Centers, Directorate of Adult Education, State Literacy Mission, National Book Trust of India, National Institute of Open Schooling, non-profit organizations, private publishers and so on. Thank you.